northern Minnesota. December. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Snow lay thick and uneven, swallowing all sound. The air was so cold that every breath burned the lungs, and every exhale turned into a swirling mist. The pines, heavy with snow, creaked and groaned under the gusts of wind, as if whispering warnings. But the friends didn't hear them. They walked forward, laughing and joking, unaware that the forest had already begun its hunt. Jacob walked last, as always. He liked to look back, to watch their footprints disappear under fresh snowflakes. But today, something felt off. The tracks they left behind seemed to vanish too quickly, as if someone or something was following them, erasing their path. He stopped and listened. Silence. Only the wind whistling through the trees and the occasional cry of a raven in the distance. "Jake, you're falling behind," Emily called, turning around. Her voice sounded unnaturally loud in the stillness. "Coming," he muttered, but the unease didn't leave him. By evening, they reached a clearing. The snow here was soft and fluffy, like a downy blanket. But as Jacob began clearing a spot for the tent, his foot hit something hard. He bent down and saw a bone. Long, thin, and unmistakably not from an animal. He wanted to show it to the others, but when he looked up, the bone was gone, as if it had never been there. The night passed restlessly. Jacob woke to a strange sound. It was a howl, but not like a wolf's. It was low, drawn out, almost human. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Jacob peeked out of the tent. The snow glistened in the moonlight, and the shadows from the trees seemed too long, too alive. "Did you hear that?" he asked Liam when he emerged from the tent. Liam nodded silently. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "That wasn't wolves," he whispered. "It was something else." During the day, they came across a tree. Its bark was scarred with deep scratches, and strange symbols were carved into the trunk. They looked like intertwined claws and teeth, as if someone had tried to depict a maw, ready to devour everything around it. Jacob felt a chill run down his spine. He reached out to touch the symbols, but immediately pulled his hand back. The bark was warm, almost hot, despite the freezing cold. "We need to get out of here," Emily said, her voice trembling. By the evening of the third day, they realized they were lost. The map they had brought was useless. The compass behaved strangely, the needle spun wildly, unable to find north. And then, as if to make things worse, a blizzard began. Snow fell in thick flakes, shrouding everything in a white veil. Visibility dropped to zero. "We need to set up camp and wait it out," Emily suggested. They found a small cave where they could take shelter from the wind. But as soon as they lit a fire, the howl came again. This time, it was closer. Much closer. "That's not the wind," Emily whispered, trembling. "It's something. Alive?" Jacob peered outside. In the blizzard, he saw a shadow. Huge, hunched, with glowing eyes. It moved unnaturally fast, almost gliding over the snow. Its silhouette resembled a wolf, but it was too large too. Its legs were too long, its body too thin, as if stretched and distorted. Its eyes burned with a yellow light, like two embers, and drool dripped from its jaws, leaving black stains on the snow. "Close the entrance," he shouted, backing away. But it was too late. The shadow burst into the cave. The creature let out a low growl, and the friends felt their bodies freeze with fear. It reeked of rot and blood, and its breath was hot, like fire. The creature struck first. It lunged at Liam, dragging him into the blizzard. His screams were cut short, leaving only silence. Jacob, Emily, and Nate ran, but the creature was faster. It pursued them, toying with them like a cat with a mouse. Its footsteps were almost silent, but every time they looked back, it was closer. Its eyes glowed in the dark like two fiery orbs, and a low, guttural snarl came from its throat. "It's a skinwalker," Emily whispered, when they hid behind some trees. "I've read about them. They hunt people to steal their strength." "How do we stop it?" Nate asked, shaking. "Fire," Emily said. "And silver." "But we don't have either." Jacob looked at the knife he had brought. It was steel, not silver. But they had no other choice. By morning, the blizzard had subsided, but the creature was still there. It circled their hiding place, emitting that same eerie howl. Jacob knew they couldn't run. Their only chance was to fight. "Distract it," he told the others. "I'll try to stab it." Emily and Nate stepped out, shouting and waving their arms. The creature lunged at them, but Jacob was ready. He drove the knife into its side. It howled in pain but didn't die. Instead, it turned to Jacob, its eyes blazing with fury. Jacob saw the blade stuck in its body, black, thick liquid oozing from the wound. It smelled of decay and death. "Run!" Jacob screamed, but it was too late. Jacob woke up in a hospital. They told him he had been found in the woods, alone. He was covered in blood but alive. Emily, Liam, and Nate were never found. The police concluded they had gotten lost and frozen to death. But Jacob knew the truth. He had seen the creature drag them into the darkness. And he knew it was still out there, in the forest, waiting for its next victim. Every night, he dreams of that howl. And every time he hears it, he knows the Skinwalker hasn't finished its hunt.